thinking about what the difference between your 20s and your 30s is. When you're in your 20s, you'd be at a party and you would say, oh, I can't have tequila after that one New Year's a couple of years ago. Whereas when you're in your 30s, it's like, oh, I can't have dairy. That's the difference. You know you're getting old when.
Also, any alcohol with dairy is always a problem.
That's true.
This Bailey's isn't sitting right. The things we used to do in our 20s. I was basically a moron.
Yeah, I think we all were. Yeah. That's why when we look at these young people these days, it's like, just remember, you were their age too, and just how moronic were you then? That's how moronic they are today.
That was us once. Except they have social media.
So now we all get to deal with it. Used to be isolated. Greetings and fist bumps. This is the Raised Eyebrow Podcast, where we discuss how people just peopling can make it weird to be a person sometimes, because somebody's got to do it. We are your hosts, Kojo, Mike, and Alex. In this episode, we're going to dive down some internet rabbit holes. The interesting ones, of course, not the really sketchy ones, which turns out to be the majority of rabbit holes on the World Wide Web. What does that even say about us? Do we even want the answers to that question? Probably not. All right, let's begin.
Rabbit holes. So this kind of reminds me of one episode we did, what was it, last year, about conspiracy theories. I feel like...
Oh, yeah.
That's a fine line between the two topics. But rabbit holes could be something as simple as, like, you're hanging out on your couch and, you know, you get the YouTube algorithm going, and before you know it, 3 hours pass by, and you've looked up fortune cookies, the origin of butter chicken. You know what I mean? I'm speaking from experience on that one. Food stuff.
So what is the origin of butter chicken?
It's actually not even like Indian. It's Indian immigrants to England. So it's actually British. Right?
Oh, wow.
Like, there was no actual butter chicken in India. It was just immigrants that came along to England with the colony, and eventually it was just the easy thing to make, and the local British people loved it. It's fatty and rich and creamy, and here we are. Now it's exported around the world.
Yeah. So does this mean British people don't really have their main dish, hence why immigrant food tends to be the main food in England?
I think England has, like, fish and chips is the thing that pops up. Bangers and mash.
Meat pies.
Shepherd's pie.
Shepherd's pie.
A lot of the pastry and meat and potatoes.
Yeah. And very bland. Yeah, and so Indian food is the opposite of that. I think that's why.
What is the seasoning? Curry.
Because, like, in North America, ours is... Like, Italian food's probably one of the most popular cuisines in North America.
Yep.
Because it's so different. But it also kind of has, like, a lot of things that North Americans like cheese.
Mm-hmm.
Cheese and bread.
Lots of cheese. And, yeah, cheese and carbs.
Basically.
Top of cheese.
Cheese is very universal. Burgers, obviously.
Yeah, it's like
American,
the meat and then the bread.
Pretty much. But the reason for that is because when... you know, everyone expanded to the West, or I should say the North American West, they needed energy to build stuff and to, like, traverse the continent. So
on horses?
This was like so they needed the calories, and, you know, carbs are quickest source of that. Burgers.
I think it's fast to cook too.
Yeah.
Right? Because you just slice of bread, put meat in it.
Quick to cook.
You're good.
That's it.
Also, I have a theory. Everything tastes better in sandwich form.
That's a good point. Even
steak sandwich,
ice cream
sandwich.
Yep.
Yeah, Philly cheesesteak, ice cream. Yeah, is that what you said, Mike? Yeah.
Ice cream sandwich for the win. Yeah, it's just something comforting about holding
sausages,
two patties of some sort,
meatballs,
and it's not as messy as eating something where you have to use your hands, like, you know, dip it in sauce and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although sometimes that's That's what
It's part of the appeal.
Yeah. But you got to be dressed for it, though. Like, you got to be like, I don't need this t-shirt.
Exactly. But it's very much like the working class food, right? It's the workers'
That's okay.
food. You shove
Is there
it
an
down.
etiquette for like eating burgers? Like, say you go on a date and you want to be proper.
Yeah.
Man.
I wouldn't order.
Probably not the best. Not
Just
first
don't.
date, at least.
Yeah.
But I mean, if she's into it or he's into it, you can bond over the burger experience.
Yeah. Depends on the
You
date.
get a nice gourmet
Yeah.
burger, or live nostalgically about the Whopper or something. But whatever.
You take her to like White Castle or Sonic or something like that.
I'm a Shake Shack guy.
I heard
Shake
something that I don't know how true it is, that Kanye didn't take Kim to McDonald's, hence why they went their separate ways.
That was the deal breaker, huh? It wasn't that he was a psycho,
Yeah.
bipolar maniac. That wasn't it. No McDonald's.
With all the money they have, McDonald's is where they want to go eat.
It wasn't their mutual narcissism.
Wouldn't you?
It's the lack of burger options. But back to rabbit holes. The reason I bring this one up is because one of my points was Wikipedia rabbit holes. And the most popular one, you can find this in like subreddits, is lists of common misconceptions. And so food is one of the big ones. If you go on Wikipedia and type in list of common misconceptions, there's so many. Like you could be on there for hours. But the food one is really popular. And one of the biggest ones is the butter chicken, which many people think is Indian. Can't blame them. I thought that. But it's really British, made by Indian immigrants to England. So fun times.
Is it
But
perhaps maybe it started by them not having the ingredient, so then they basically took what the British had and created the butter chicken, maybe?
Perhaps. I'm not sure about the
know.
details of it, but curry is obviously a huge spice in Indian culture, and I'm sure there's dishes with like those elements, but the creamy aspect, adds the richness to it. Maybe that's part of some sort of British cultural cuisine. I don't know. I'm talking out of my butthole, but it seems to make sense, like intuitively. And also, immigrants usually they use what they have, just to make something cheap and quick and also tasty, delicious. So this concoction came out of that.
Yeah. Well, even like if you look at pizza, right? That's an Italian dish, but in America you have the New York slice, right? That's unique to the city. The Detroit slice, deep dish pizza in Chicago, right? So they're adapted based upon like local cultures that are there, making it their own, right? And those are delicious in their own right. I mean, wood oven pizza is amazing too, but I mean, sometimes the New York slice is just
Can't beat it. Yep.
all you
And
need.
they're different from the Italian versions of it, right? Like Neapolitan pizza, it's very specific. I mean, of course, it translates, or elements of it translate, but there's that New York, X Factor, or the Chicago X Factor with this giant pie version of a pizza where the ingredients are on the inside. Anyway, I'm getting hungry. Some more fun food misconception rabbit holes. Fortune cookies are not found in Chinese cuisine. That's a fun one. That's another North American gimmick. They're found in Chinese restaurants in the United States and other Western countries, and they were actually invented in Japan and introduced to the U.S. by the Japanese. And then Chinese immigrants figured that out, and they're like, oh, this is our thing. We're taking this now. What else? Yeah, that's all I got. But one more. Potato chips were not invented by a frustrated George Speck in response to a customer, sometimes given as corn. I don't know. This is random nonsense. Some guy was complaining about his French fries. I don't know. Go on Wikipedia. You'll figure it out. But yeah, there's a bunch. You could be on this for hours.
There's one where the burrito, actually, to add to that list. So this is from Quesadilla, the restaurant Quesadilla. So they know burritos because they make them. So they say, was the name burrito inspired by donkeys or little children? So the burrito means, I think it's like little donkey or food of the donkey. Burrito means little donkey in Spanish. There's a very persistent theory that alleges that the inventor of the burrito was a man named Juan Mendez, who sold tacos in the city of, Spanish is not great, Ciudad Juarez, during the Mexican Revolution between 1910 and 1920. According to that story, Mendez rode around on a donkey and wrapped the food in large flour tortillas to keep it warm. The, quote, food of the donkey became very popular and earned the ingenious invention of the name burrito. Another popular theory was that an unnamed street vendor in Ciudad Juarez created the burrito in the 1940s to sell to poor children in nearby school. His affectionate nickname was for the children were burritos, slang for slow or dim-witted. That's how the food got its name. There's one more theory, according to which the burrito was invented in Sonora, a region of northwest Mexico, as a food that was easy to carry around while traveling. Since traveling was commonly done by donkey, the burrito was named after the travel companion. And then there's also this guy named Gustavo Arellano, who wrote a book called Taco USA, How Mexican Food Conquered America, and is an expert on the topic. Believes his theory is more plausible since Sonora is in the region of Mexico known for growing wheat, which is the main ingredient in flour tortillas. There's also another theory where it was actually invented in America, not in Mexico. Yeah.
Little donkeys.
Yeah.
Little donkey sandwiches.
Yeah, you gotta really get off this food conversation.
I guess we should
What
probably
about you, Kojo? Any
stay away from the food topics. There. I mean, so this topic is pretty much like the conspiracy theories revolving around unsolved deaths, like people.
I knew we'd get there eventually.
Recently, I think one of it's now in the news right now, like the Tupac, which is probably like, but then they have Cleopatra's on the list. You have Edgar Allan Poe. You have John Gregory. Yeah, like a lot of people, but I don't know. Should we list all of them?
No. You can go down this rabbit hole for a while, but it's interesting with the Tupac one because they found out who the suspect is through like DNA technology that's more advanced. Correct me if I'm wrong, but this reminds me of Minority Report. Remember that movie with Tom Cruise where they can like predict who murders who, like they can get ahead of the criminal after or before it's committed. I forget what it was, but yeah technology is gonna convict us all.
Yeah, I think even with the one with the DNA sample, the guy who his family member went and did the DNA test, and then through that they were able to capture him.
Oh, interesting.
Whoa.
Because he went like, yeah.
Oh, I heard about that, yeah.
Like, was living his best life and then.
Not anymore. Yeah, list of unsolved deaths. You could go down this rabbit hole for a while. The JFK stuff, even though it's allegedly solved.
Yeah.
Allegedly. All the true crime stuff. That's popular nowadays.
Yeah. Did you watch the Epstein documentary?
No. Is that on Netflix?
It is on Netflix, and that is a rabbit hole. Definitely a lot of conspiracy theories. Did he hang himself in jail, or was he killed and made it look like a suicide? Yeah. Guards were suspiciously not around at the time in a high security prison. That's a lot of true crime stuff. Actually, another one was I recently rewatched Fahrenheit 9/11, which is about like the terrorist attacks. It's interesting watching it like 20 years removed. And then there's that other documentary, Zeitgeist, which is conspiracy theory-esque, but does kind of pose a lot of the same things that Michael Moore poses in his documentary. And like, what happened to Building 7? There's just a whole... that's a whole thing. And you watch clips of it, and it looks like it was just demolished, like a regular...
Demolition.
Building, just a regular building.
Nobody talks about Building 7.
Yeah. Or where's the airplane in Pennsylvania that crashed into a field?
Yeah.
Right? Jet fuel can't burn metal that much. Like, we're talking like large Rolls-Royce engines made of steel. Jet fuel can't burn that. Or there'd be like a melted pile of steel. Like, you would know there was. Where's the plane? Or the Pentagon. No sign of a plane. And all of those traffic lights that are leading towards where the crash site are perfectly intact.
Weird. Didn't one of the planes crash into the Pentagon?
Allegedly, yeah. So the plane crashed in the Pentagon on the side of the wall. So the Pentagon 5, so it has 5 floors up. Probably like apparently tons of levels below, but 5 floors up. And to get a plane that low, like, we're talking like a 747 airliner, and the guy who was allegedly flying it, according to his flying instructor, who didn't know he was a terrorist, otherwise he wouldn't have taught him, he said he was a horrible pilot. So
very precise.
Like, a trained fighter jet pilot flying a fighter jet would have a hard time making that maneuver to like get that low and then enter into the building at that speed. We're talking about a large airline that would have to hit the building, but then there's nothing that was damaged before it, and it's so low to the ground. Like, 5 stories is not that tall when you really look at an airplane.
Are there any pictures or videos of the Pentagon actually damaged?
Oh, yeah.
Damaged, yes, after the alleged crash, but no videos have been released of the plane going into the Pentagon.
Well, listen, they have a good budget for renovations, and their contractors are actually on time when they get things done. So, like,
you know, my theory is that somebody at the Pentagon really wanted their office redone, and they just kept getting blocked by all this bureaucracy. It's like, you know what?
Pull the terrorist button. It's fine. We'll figure it out. They already crashed a couple buildings.
Gotta rebuild
it's now. It's now or never. This is the time. Yeah, anything like 9/11 or all things Jeffrey Epstein is a rabbit hole, like Pandora's box. You could lose your life to those two topics if you're not careful.
Or the deep state stuff. Like, I don't know if you've ever watched anything with Vivek, the guy who ran for president, or what RFK's talking about during the election. Stuff.
That gets dicey.
Yeah, like, these are presidential candidates. And then you just have Trump's usual rhetoric, right? And it's like, holy crap, like, this is so interesting. And then there's this one episode with like Russell Brand. He was on Tucker Carlson, and they were talking about like the news media, and I'm just kind of curious how much of these conspiracy theories are true.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some element of truth to all of the common ones, but what do I know, right?
I mean, they make good entertainment conversation starters.
Exactly.
Especially.
I don't think we'll ever know, right? But it's funny how popular these things get. And I think it gets popular for a reason. It's because people don't trust our authority institutions.
Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, you could go down the rabbit hole of conspiracy theories where they become ridiculous, right? But I think there's a limit to it as far as mental health goes, because you will never truly know, right? So it's always some guy in like rural Wyoming who's got it all figured out, but he doesn't have a job, So like we can't trust this guy.
Yeah, because even some of the alien spaceships are usually government flight tests that goes wrong. But then if you blame it on an alien, then the government can really hide the real secret of like
for sure
flight.
Didn't Tucker Carlson just go on a rant recently about aliens? Something about I forget. I don't want to butcher it, but What does Tucker Carlson know? Is he just shit disturbing?
I don't know. I don't know his rant for that, but I mean there was a hearing in Congress.
Yeah. That's what he's talking about. He was talking about that they've been among us for a while, but we can't pinpoint them. I don't know the details. I can't remember, but definitely that they've been among us, and that we, like, us recognizing them doesn't make sense from a bureaucracy standpoint. He's all over the place with it.
He's getting paid, so that's why he doesn't want to tell us the truth.
Who's paying him though? What's
the aliens?
What's that?
They're rich.
Yeah, exactly.
The aliens.
These are interesting beings, apparently.
Well, okay, was it the lizard people, the Anunnaki, the Greys? Like who? Who's paying
the
them?
Accountant? Is there a budget? Who's on the payroll?
Anyway. The Illuminati's paying them.
Oh no. Other conspiracy theories. Here's a fun one. Getting away from like the common like YouTube portals and all that. Have you guys heard of My 90s TV? Is
it all the 90s trendy movies back in the days?
Yeah, it's like a website. So it's a nostalgic TV simulator. So you can go on this website, and it's like you're in the 90s, so you can like flip the channels, and it'll show you commercials from the 90s, music from the 90s, videos, TV shows. So you're just like in this 90s portal, and it's a pretty popular website apparently. Also found this through Reddit, ironically enough. But it's a thing. Check that one out if you're feeling nostalgic and want to jump back in the 90s. But it's a rabbit hole for sure. Like you could just live a 90s pop culture life for hours on this thing.
I usually watch those like Ghanaian TV commercials in the 90s and laugh about how poor most of them used to be.
Memories.
Yeah. So have you guys have a list of it's like common misconceptions, especially things that deal with startup businesses. So for instance, like Netflix was not founded after its co-founder Reed Hastings was charged a $40 late fee by Blockbuster. So Hastings made a story up to summarize Netflix value proposition. And then Adidas.
Oh, so that's fake?
Well, I mean, I don't know the true story, but apparently that's what they're saying. And then also, Netflix founder was actually inspired by Amazon. I don't know.
Netflix found.
That kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
And then Adidas is not an acronym for All Day I Dream About Sports. All Day I Dream About Soccer. You know about that one?
Yeah. It's a misconception. It's just the guy's name, like Adi or something.
Adolf
Dassler.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you know about his brother?
Oh yeah, his brother started.
Puma?
Yeah, their dad owned a shoe factory, and the brothers never got along. Father died, left the factory to the brothers, so the brothers went their separate ways. And they're both in the same town in Germany. I don't know the town. But, you have Puma and Adidas from the same town.
Weren't they both Nazis?
Oh, yeah.
Not by choice. Nobody was really Nazi. Some Not by choice, yeah. They were forced to make apparel. I think it might have been after. I don't know. I have to check the history on that. But, yeah.
They were proactive Nazis.
The Nazi uniforms were made by Hugo Boss. Again, not by choice. So the brand did not actively do that. Hitler drove around in a Mercedes. I read this one book, Driven, the title's called Driven. It's about BMW. And as the war was breaking out, the person who was running BMW, which was the son of the founder, he had a conversation with the head of Mercedes, and their approach was like, let's just kind of ride this out. Like, let's kind of see what happens because the Allies look strong. So yes, BMW did make engines that they put into the airplanes, and yes, Mercedes did make cars, but they did not do it by choice.
Right. At that point, it was like nationalized, right?
Yeah.
It was authoritarian, yeah. So
It's authoritarian communism.
that's fascism.
Yeah, I mean, if like it's like that TV show where if the war had gone the other way, how would the world look like?
We would be speaking German. Well, I wouldn't be here. So. Kojo, you might not either.
Yeah,
potentially.
A lot of the
that's grim thought.
Not to get too
actually,
heavy
yeah.
on you guys.
but
but Alex, you would be speaking German for sure.
It's true because a lot of the early translation of the Ghanaian languages were done by Germans.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What's the connection with Germany? Were they
I
colonial
don't
stuff? Or?
know exactly because
Germany was always intellectual. Like they were always at the forefront of
Yeah.
that kind of stuff from an intellectual standpoint.
Yeah, I don't know how, but like a lot of them were in the education sector. I don't know. My dad learned German,
Yeah, makes sense.
Latin, and German.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, going back to my list. Where am I? So if you guys remember from our earlier podcast, we talked about Santa Claus, and
Oh yeah.
the common image of Santa Claus as a jolly old man in red robes was not created by the Coca-Cola company as an advertising gimmick.
This is a misconception, right?
Well, Santa Claus had already taken his form in an American popular culture and advertising by the late 19th century, long before Coca-Cola used this image in the 1930s. So I think, so Coca-Cola didn't make it, but it's an old image way before Coca-Cola started.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy how people associated it with Coca-Cola.
Yeah. I mean, the list goes on, but I think I'll end here.
That's the misconception one. That's a big rabbit hole. And if you go on Wikipedia, that list of common misconceptions, it's for every category. You can literature, the quotation one. So many quotations are incorrect or attributed to people who never actually said them, right? So, insert quote Albert Einstein or Mark Twain, or Churchill. Like, nope, didn't actually say it.
I think it makes you smarter when you just say that. Like I wrote this down. I wrote something, which is
Buddha said.
a wise woman once said, "Y'all haters, corny with that Illuminati mess."
That was Gandhi, right?
Gandhi.
No, it's Mother Teresa.
Yeah.
Actually, one life hack I've been doing, it's more of a career hack, is when it's your thought, like even if you had it, just say like, "Oh, I learned this and I read this in a book somewhere," and then you say what your actual thought is, and then they think they subscribe more or they prescribe more validity to your thought when you say that. I've been like field testing this whole idea for the
So
last
it's really
6
your
months.
thought, but you're saying, "Oh, I saw this in a book."
Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah,
Then they can't dismiss you. Like,
yeah.
This
Oh,
is in a
someone
book,
published it.
so-
Oh, okay. Do you know the book? Yeah, it's read it a while ago. University.
seems legit.
I don't know.
Can you say that
Uh,
with like maybe any Twitter, not even a Twitter post, but like an Instagram or YouTube
Like
video?
reference.
Yeah, like everyone is an expert now. So
Right.
Yeah.
if you watch something on YouTube, can you say that? Oh, I watched this on YouTube and it's a fact. It's correct.
You could, but there's always like those people who know an obscene amount of stuff or details about random things. Like just there's probably someone who could be like correcting us, like, well, actually, it's not pronounced Adidas, it's pronounced, and they're going to give us the whole scoop on Adidas.
They didn't even watch the Tucker Carlson interview.
Yeah. He never was talking about aliens. He was talking about the deep state.
Illegal Mexican immigrants.
Yeah.
Episode 5 of the Tucker Carlson Show. You can see right here.
Unwatchable.
Yeah, okay, Jim. All right, let's just calm down.
Go back to your basement. Your mom's basement.
Yeah.
No, Jim's right. Jim knows stuff.
Going back to fizzy drinks and Reddit threads, I've found a very weird fan relationship with a popular soft drink, Bubbly.
Ooh.
Okay.
Buble.
You've all heard of it? Yeah. Yeah, Buble, Bubbly. It's just simply titled Bubbly or Buble on Reddit. Just look it up. There's a lot of adult humor in there. And I'm just going to read you some of the captions that I've found that kind of gives you a sneak peek into this interesting, twisted fan culture. So one post reads, what is Bubbly and why do I keep finding it up my Shih Tzu's ass?
All right.
It's a lot of shoving up the ass jokes in this thread.
Yes.
Another one is, my girlfriend's parents gave me a cherry bubbly when I told them I impregnated their daughter. What do they mean by this?
This is like meme paradise.
Yeah, just all about this one thing, right? Someone wrote a poem about Bubbly. Bubbly, oh my soul, oft solace for the weary. Another one is, caught my wife sipping with someone else. My life is in shambles right now. I barely have the energy to write about it. It wasn't even a can of blueberry promo, my favorite. It was spiked Topo Chico. Condolences and kind words appreciated. Praise Bubbly.
Praise Bubbly.
And then they have a person that keeps popping up. His name is Nelson. He's the Lord of the Bubbles. And they keep it just started with a guy, I guess, like he's just like in some kind of like Walmart type setting, but then they keep putting it through like an AI bot and he's just like riding a goat or like, conquering the world or something, like just like these weird outlandish images of Nelson, who's now apparently jacked and can do anything. I have no idea where he came from, but they use AI to generate these images, and it's just hilarious what they keep coming up with. And then there's another one. Last one here is the title of this post is called, I was fired from my job because of Bubbly. Do I have legal recourse? Long story short, I shotgunned a warm raspberry bubbly in front of a primary school while I was in the line of duty and was placed in indefinite leave without pay for engaging in a, quote, alcohol-related gesture. What the fuck? I thought this job would be different when I took the oath. Why would Bubbly do this? I thought it was pop. And there's just all these people commenting.
So weird rabbit hole. How did this start? It's got to be Bubbly's marketing team.
Ooh.
If it is, it's genius.
I would bet money that it was. They just.
If it was, I don't know how compliance is getting on with these. Like,
it's guerrilla marketing.
Like
they hired some bloggers or Reddit posters.
Yeah.
Like just a quick scroll through. Another post titles, does Bubbly play a role in the uptick in Asian hate crimes?
I don't know if the marketing team planned that one.
No, definitely not.
Any publicity is good publicity? Maybe not. Maybe not.
Yeah. It's good. But Bubbly is delicious. Nothing wrong with the can. We definitely support all your Bubbly indulgences.
We are not sponsored by Bubbly.
Oh my
God,
God.
We're open to it, to both.
Yeah. Praise Bubbly.
A Raised Eyebrow Podcast. Michael Bublé watches it.
Yes.
No, he doesn't.
He's our biggest fan.
He's a good musician. This rabbit hole from my end. Have you guys heard of Wayback Machine?
Ooh, yes.
Yeah.
This is fun in the marketing world for us digital marketers. So it's basically like an archive of every website from the World Wide Web. Started in 1996. It actually went public in 2001, but it allows users to go back in time to see how websites looked in the past. So it's literally decades of websites, even defunct websites. I used to work for certain retail companies that shall not be mentioned, but I can go back and look at every homepage, every subpage of that website through the years. It's interesting if you're, an internet nerd. Have you guys used it?
Oh yeah.
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 There's a live version of an old school website, the Space Jam website.
I haven't heard of this one. What's that?
You know the movie, like the original
yeah.
Space Jam, the Michael Jordan one.
Literally
the good
Space Jam,
one.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah. You can go online, just type in like Space Jam website, and they left it up.
Wow.
Yeah, it's from whenever it came out.
97.
Spacejam.com/1996.
Wow. That's interesting.
Yeah. And it's
It looks so 1990s.
It does.
it is amazing. They should design websites like this
Why would they
again.
left it up?
I'm done with all this, like, just, yeah. This is amazing. Like this was the way it should have been. This was when the internet was fun.
I think it went
That's
from
nostalgic.
it went from here to like the Flash era, and then now it's all responsive stuff.
Look at the font on these things, on these
Yeah.
pages.
It's amazing. Everything about this is amazing. Got like textured background. It just breaks so many UX rules.
Of course, yes.
There's
Yeah.
like purple piercing my eyes right now.
Red text on
Hairy
black.
looking basketballs. This is crazy.
Blue font on a green
This is like
background.
if a kindergartner designed a website. But this was every website in the 90s. I grew up with this stuff. Well, I feel old. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah. This is just awesome. And whoever keeps paying these bills to keep the website live, thank
Yeah.
you. You're doing a good service to humanity.
Salute to this person. Do a shot for them. Any other rabbit holes, gentlemen?
I have this one. It's a list of micronations.
Oh, a list of micronations.
Yeah, so
not micro states.
no, not
Micro-
states, but nations. So they usually have flags. There's the founding date. You have dates from like 2008. I think the oldest is probably 19. Let me see. Oh wow, it goes all the way, but I guess the 1990s. So technically, these are just countries that are new. Okay, are small, self-proclaimed entities that asserts the sovereignty as independent state, but which are not acknowledged as such by any of the recognized sovereign states.
Right.
So you have like Grand Duchy of Flandrensis. I don't even know how to pronounce that. It was founded in 2008. So founded as a short-term hobby, eventually became active in raising awareness of climate change, particularly as it affects polar ice and glaciers. So I'm guessing it's probably like up north.
I think I've seen this one on like Vice or something. It's like usually like a hippie commune where they just smoke weed and complain about climate destruction.
Yeah.
And don't work.
Yeah. They all have like really cool flags. I think it would be a really cool booklet. Like, with the description, the date.
Yep. There's a few in the Netherlands, I think. Some Scandinavian ones. They're all quirky.
Yeah.
It's all like.
Have you heard the Principality of
No, what's
Sealand?
that?
It's off the coast of Britain. So during the World War II, they built these like offshore tower things. They look like kind of oil rigs, but they're not. They have like a helicopter pad on it. So it was built in the channel so they can kind of get like an early warning view of any, Nazi ships coming in or any airliners coming or the Luftwaffe flying in. But then it was just left abandoned. And so this guy but it's in technically like international waters, but not really. Britain says it is still theirs. And so this guy just kind of claimed it as his own.
Oh, wow.
and he calls it the Principality of Sealand. Yeah.
Oh,
And the guy who claimed it was Paddy Roy Bates. The current prince is Michael Bates. Apparently, you can become a member of it. What can you do with here? So you could become a baron or baroness. You could become a lord or lady of Sealand.
yeah.
Humans are funny.
Count or countess, a sir or a dame. You can get knighthood.
Yeah.
What's their end goal on with this micro?
World domination. Yeah.
They need some more resources, though.
Well, when people talk about the deep state,
Yeah.
Say no more.
but that's a good, yeah. I mean, that's never been proven. Allegedly.
We're not going to prove it on this episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing how, like,
Jim in the comments section will.
it's amazing how all these nations, like, I mean, like in Portland, Maine, for instance, there's this bunker, a few bunkers that were built and never used. And, like, they're like fortresses, like, you know, in case of the war. I think it was built for the War of 1812, and they were never used.
I'm sure there's a few of those throughout the world, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I do have one last rabbit hole.
Hit us.
Just go listen to the back episodes of the Raised Eyebrow
I
podcast.
hear you can
Yeah, it's
really
a good
fall
rabbit
down
hole.
that one.
Highly
For
recommend
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
And I don't know, final thoughts? That's pretty much my final
That's a
thought.
good final thought. Mine is just be careful with rabbit holes. Don't let it consume you.
Mine
Don't
is,
be that guy at a party that just takes
Yeah,
over
yeah.
the conversation with some crazy.
Who does weird things with
You don't want to
their
be that guy at
hands.
the party. Just learn when the conversation needs to change and transition with the social context here.
Mine is make sure you get a life. It can take away your life.
It's just a better articulated version of my final thought. Just get a life.
Get a life.
Come on. All right. Well, follow us on all the social medias, raisedeyebrow.podcast. And remember, kids, never go down a rabbit hole that you can't get out of.